Well, faithful, finally we start seeing some type of impact from Brian Griese on Jimmy G. Now, we've seen how Jimmy G start throwing the ball more often downfield. Remember, Brian Griese on his days as a quarterback, he was considered to be a good deep ball thrower. Again, Brian Griese having a lot of problems with interceptions. That is one of the points or key elements that, so far hasn't changed on Jimmy G. And Brian Griese being the quarterback coach needs to have some more influence in that regard over Jimmy G. Now, returning to the deep ball, they've been several throws already into the season, and most of them they've been to Ray McLeod. Now, here's the point that many people they're coming back about OBJ or Odell Beckham Jr. signing with the 49ers. I have no doubt if those throws that were made for Odell Beckham Jr., it will the result it will be different. Ray McLeod couldn't hold to the ball in several throws downfield. If you have other receiver, probably not name Odell Beckham Jr., but other receiver, it might be completed. Ray McLeod being a very good special teams player, but as a receiver, we know that has some problems catching the ball. Now, okay, returning to the point of Brian Griese making an impact on Jimmy G. And now, for the sake of the conversation, because we know that most likely Jimmy Garoppolo next year is going to be somebody else's problem. Most likely he's not going to be in the 49ers. But the important part is that this season he is the starting quarterback for the rest of the season, knowing that Trey Lance won't come back this season from the injury. So, more deep throws for Jimmy Garoppolo. We start seeing some resemble or of a blueprint from Brian Griese to Jimmy G. But how much of that blueprint or impact into this season? Now, we need to understand that although many limitations for Jimmy G, we need to put as many possible safe measures for mitigate the risk of Jimmy G throwing interceptions game after game. That is the reality, including the plays, including the quarterback coach, including Kyle Shanahan, absolutely everything. Probably that's why they brought Christian McCaffrey, being one of the best running backs catching the ball. Not the Jeff Wilson or any other running back that we had in the team. They're very good at catching the ball too, including Elijah Mitchell. The most likely he's going to return from the injury this week against the Chargers. So, have we seen the limit of Jimmy Garoppolo? And this is, like I said before, probably this is for the sake of the conversation because most likely Jimmy G is not going to be part of the 49ers next year. So if we've seen the limit of Jimmy G or not, the most important is to win this season, period. Then, most likely, it's going to be somebody else's problem. The impact of Brian Griese on Jimmy G throwing deep balls is being undeniable. We've seen footage of Jimmy Garoppolo during training, how he goes and throws many deep throws down the field. So we've seen it, and Brian Griese is there with him step by step, teaching him how to throw these deep balls. So, like I'm saying, we start seeing this blueprint for Jimmy G from Brian Griese. So far, this hasn't been an impact in the games. How good or how bad it is, this um, new feature on Jimmy Garoppolo's game. Well, so far it hasn't been that impactful. Is the reality. If we see some other throws that he made to other players, for example, the throw to Ross Dwelly, 40 yards down the field, he was a little bit short. It was not exactly how you say that he put it in the bucket. It wasn't that accurate. Some other throws downfield, I mean, the other throw to Ray McLeod that I mean, touched the ball, but he couldn't catch it. Uh, I mean, you can start the debate that it was overthrown by Jimmy G, or Ray McLeod doesn't has the speed or the hands to catch that ball. So far, the change that we've seen on Jimmy Garoppolo is not having an impact on the games. Is it good? Is it bad, the change? Is it, I mean, of course, most likely at some point that deep throat may start working for the 49ers. So it is another dimension for the game of Jimmy Garoppolo. There is no doubt about it. But like I'm saying, if it doesn't materialize, then if you have new features in your game for Jimmy Garoppolo, but they are not working, what's the point? It would be better if Jimmy Garoppolo improves in his decision making. For example, in climbing the pocket. Is one of those quarterbacks that he doesn't know how to climb the pocket, which is one of the biggest statistics for many ratings of in a quarterback. If you climb the ball, you have better percentage of completion. You have better throws down the field, so on and so forth. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't know how to climb the pocket. Why, instead of throwing balls down the field, why the impact of Brian Griese on Jimmy Garoppolo is not how to climb the pocket? Is not how to read better defense. Is not how to make the throws. We cannot deny that the numbers of interceptions this year for Jimmy G, it will be double, triple, if not the defensive players that dropped the ball, including two for Jalen Ramsey in the last game. So, good for Jimmy G, good for Brian Griese, even good for the 49ers that the Jimmy G has a new development in his the way that he's playing. But if it doesn't have any impact on the games, it doesn't matter. For me, instead of having these deep throws, for me what is better, or is more important, how to climb the pocket, how to read better the defense, how to make better decisions throwing the ball. But again, if Brian Griese had problems with interceptions, I don't know how much of a help that might provide for Jimmy Garoppolo. Very interesting point. If we already saw the full limit potential of Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers, so many injuries, so many Jimmy Garoppolo not being 100%. And like I'm saying, this is just for the sake of the conversation. Because most likely, next year, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be with the 49ers. If we can untap the limit or add more features into the game of Jimmy Garoppolo for this season, probably I don't care if it's for other seasons. Just for this season. What Brian Griese needs to do for the rest of the season to untap the maximum potential of Jimmy Garoppolo. And it might be not the answer, the deep throws. For me, it's more important to work in more essential things with Jimmy Garoppolo than throwing the ball deep. I know probably Kyle Shanahan wants to incorporate that into the offense and to have more. I mean, stretching the field. Probably it can alleviate the pressure that some defenses they're putting in the trenches for the running backs. I understand. I get it that point. But if you have, and the other part, what if instead of Ray McCloud, it will be Danny Gray? We know that he's faster. He might have better hands than Ray McCloud. So that feature that new feature or not this new development on Garoppolo's game, it will have a significant impact on the outcomes of the games for the 49ers. Absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind there. So, at the end, it's good to see the development or how Brian Griese is putting this blueprint on Jimmy G, because that means that he can even replicate or even improve on Trey Lance. So finally, we are seeing those ideas and concepts for the quarterback coach implemented on the quarterback, at least for now with Jimmy Garoppolo. If those they have an impact, a real impact in the game, well, we need to see more. Absolutely, we need to see more. I like the fact that the 49ers they are throwing the ball downfield more. I love the chance and the possibility of having big plays. But if we continue operating like we've done it so far, it's not going to have a real impact on the game. Period. That is the most important part. Wins and loss. So let me know what you think. Comment down below. Let me know if you think that this blueprint of Brian Griese now on Jimmy Garoppolo is the correct one, or they need to improve in other areas. Comment down below, subscribe, and like always, see you in the next one.